This is RPMMORadio.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
A podcast all about role-playing and MMORPGs.
I like what you got. Good job!
With your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, Sid, Jazz, Strafe, and Kishmas.
Everybody off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, role players! Welcome to the final episode of the year of RPMMORadio. Episode 72, Magic and You, Part 3 of our 3-part series, The Light of Magic. Or, I think I renamed it at the last minute. I don't remember what it's called now. It says it in the title. If you don't know what it is, learn to read. So, there. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, and with me today is the crew, Jazz, Sib, and Strafe, and the Yunfei. Unfortunately, Kishmas couldn't make it. He got stopped by ATF, the cocaine run of pure snow.
It was only a matter of time, boss.
He was running pure snow for Santa. How do you think he pays all those elves? It's cocaine money. He works for the Guatemalans, the Mexicans, the Colombians, the Canadians, all the inns. You know, it is what it is. You know, hopefully he'll be back next year. We don't know. It's going to depend on if they have enough evidence. Pray for him. And also Rohan, our call screener, looking for your calls. We are a call-in show. Do that over at rpmmmoradio.com/Discord. If you're not already part of our Discord server, you, my friend, are a loser. And you should fix that, because there's only one way to fix that, and that's by joining our Discord, so that you can keep in contact with us even when we're not on the air. And you can tell us things about you, social security numbers, Swiss bank accounts, you know, anything like that. Yes, the Kringle cartel has them. That's exactly it. We may never see him again. The fat man, he is a bitter, bitter boss. So
he runs a huge sweatshop from what I hear.
He does, yeah. All elves, all high elves, I heard. Ugly, yellow
It is a
skin,
shameful
pointy chins,
display.
snotty
Whoa. Hang on there, son. Hang on.
Really jaundiced for some reason.
Jaundice, yeah. I mean, it looks like they drink too much Mountain Dew, kind of, that thing.
I would say more mellow yellow.
Yeah, they're definitely not high-class Mountain Dew yellow. They're more, it's definitely a mellow yellow.
Beats the ashtray color of most Dunmer, just saying.
That's really more of a blueberry kind of Willy Wonka thing.
Violet Beauregard.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, blue's your thing, I suppose.
Without the swelling. I mean, it's just the bloating is really bad. Cankles is also usually a problem. So with that, appreciate everybody tuning in. We do it every Saturday, well, I mean, except for when we don't, over at twitch.tv/RPMMORadio, 7 Central Time. This, again, it will be the last show for this year, so like the next 2 weeks, this was a complete lie. But after that, it will be truth once more. So go ahead and follow, subscribe, do all that stuff over there at Twitch. We appreciate everybody following. Like, I think I said it last time, there was a Sweet Roll and an Akulan, I don't know. But we appreciate both of them for following us, especially Sweet Roll. You are delicious.
Who doesn't love a sweet roll?
Communists, that's who. Only communists. So, you got that. Also, I want to give a special thanks and shout out to every single one of our Patreon donors who have supported us throughout this entire year. We appreciate all of you. Let's see if I can remember a few off the top of my head, like Alice, Cameron Chan, Gangsy Girl, Jay the Exile, and Psycho Chinchilla, also known as the Raid Boss level guy, the Truth Bob. He is the one that you must beat in order to find and is, you know, but yeah, so appreciate that. Patreon.com/RPMMORadio. And yeah, Jazz, I might be a little quieter because after last episode I was blowing out the microphone because I had not redone my settings. So you might have to adjust me on your Discord if I'm, yeah.
He's blowing out
Yeah.
settings.
What are you doing?
Who?
You. What was that? Were you moving your boom? Were you booming?
I don't have my boom even on my mic.
Your microphone.
Somebody was doing something.
Your microphone's attached to your boom.
Yeah, it was.
It was the when you do this kind of stuff, it travels through the microphone. That's just the kind of high quality you can expect from this show. On the air, on the fly, berating one another for not knowing what the fuck any of us are doing because we're all terrible and basically not really good.
We need a punishment ring, boss.
I was just told I had to be here, so I showed up.
Be here and be good at it is the next
good?
part. But
Be good. What's be
like
good?
like mildly competent. Like
Oh no, I don't got any of that.
Like Maury Povich daytime talk show.
I left my competent at home.
You're actually at home right now, sitting.
Dang it. Okay.
At your home that we pay for.
Are you sure? Are you sure we pay for this one?
At home.
Okay.
Well, one of us does.
Anyway. Sorry. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm a squatter. How do you like that? You ain't getting rid of me.
Yeah, you are a squatter, that's for sure.
That's right.
But at least your squatter made me a sandwich, like all good squatters should. So,
somebody's couch surfing tonight.
That's right.
Hey, that is a damn comfortable couch, and me and it have a
snores
long,
like a freight
sordid
train.
history. So, all right. We're also a podcast, Apple Podcast. If you haven't, over at iTunes or whatever the freaking hell they call it, give us a review. We've got 6 reviews of like upstars, 3 or 4 of them written, all of which we've actually said here. If you write it out, we'll read your amazing review on the air. And if it's a bad review, we'll read it on the air, and then we will ridicule and make fun of you for it.
Yes.
And by we, I mean probably me, because I'm not very nice, and
that's because we care.
I can't take criticism well. I don't handle that well at all.
He might even
shut up!
it,
I can't. I'm fine.
He might even read it in like a Bargnar voice. He'll read it in a very nice.
I'll read it in whatever voice they ask if that's what they want.
Yeah.
We can get that dwarf and the trolling to read the comments. Well, we got to risk the studio. That's the only problem, because those two together, man, that's dynamite.
Read. Neither one of those two idiots knows how to read. Coloring books, maybe. So, all right.
Alcohol labels.
Yeah, they just kind of go off the pictures, kind of like coloring books. So with that, let's go ahead and see what everyone's been doing in Roleplay this week. I was thinking that I have written a story, so that means it's actually not a new story. It's an old story, but I was going to read it because it was Christmas themed. But it seems selfish of me to do that, like go first and ruin what's to come for everybody else, because obviously that's the pinnacle of the storytelling right there. So let's go ahead and go from probably worst to best. So we'll go with Jazz first.
Woo, Jazz! He just said you're the best.
No, that's not what he said.
Yeah. No, that's exactly
not
what I said.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask our listeners if they want me to read 1 or 2 short stories.
Oh, yeah? What's our rule?
Well, we don't really have a rule. Do we have a rule, boss?
Next year? But we've not done it yet. So
she's still grandmothered in. It's
yeah,
good.
Yes, that's the wait. That is the very politically correct term. You're grandparented in. Is that the politically correct way of saying it?
That really isn't the politically correct way.
Well,
and my children have not produced offspring yet.
Well,
so
that's what I mean.
Really
Like when a law is passed, you're grandfathered into it. He said you're grandmothered into it, which is good because you're a female. But if you wanted to be politically correct, you'd have to say you're grandparented into it.
Yeah. Okay.
This
Whatever.
political correctness hurts my brain.
Yes, it does.
So far, we have 1 vote for 2 and 1 vote for less is more. Why don't you read the first one, and then we'll see if anybody else has an opinion, if they want you to continue or not.
Okay,
oh, wait, and
fair
Erica
enough.
says
Let's do it
2, so
that
there's
way.
2 votes for 2 and 1 vote for less is more. Which is, I think,
we'll
Jay
start...
just being a dick, but, we'll go with it.
She's not talking about clothing, Jay, okay? She's not talking about clothing.
Which, true, less is more.
Okay. Sully turned and walked into her house, exhaling softly as Sylvia departed the gate. She bound the housewards for the night, sealing herself in after a quick check to make sure she was the only one there, other than the staff, of course. Each one was a bright spot in her mind, notifying her of their light source and place in her house at the moment. The housewards clanged shut and lit up the night faintly around the walls of the compound, and even the windows and door frames of each building. She studied it for a moment, the beauty of a spell well done. Her mother taught her well. Sully headed inside and then to the kitchen. She heard Teller in his living area, puttering around and muttering to himself in jail. He seemed agitated tonight, but she left him to his own devices, making herself some tea. She sat down and uncovered the meal the cook had made for her earlier, poking at the now cold food and eating it slowly as the tea steeped and her mind drifted. Her plans had worked on every level so far, and even her current ambitions were in a state of plodding movement forward toward success. Her only annoyance was her empty bed, and that could not be helped. Sexual frustration aside, it was likely for the best. The only aspect of her life that she could not directly manage was when her bedmates wormed their way into her heart or under her skin. No, they were all busy chasing other endeavors, and that was likely for the best. She frowned as she pondered Sylvia, her heart tugging softly. It had to be done. The girl needed to move on, and likely would at this point. Her curse still held true, and she was her own worst enemy in that regard, but she didn't have time to focus on her own conquest right now. That would come later, if ever. Her mind drifted to Tathalis again, and she quickly slapped that door shut. That was over. It would remain over. She did not have time to argue with old lovers or loves. It was simply a waste of time, and that was that. Sylvia and Trath had been relegated to where they needed to be, safe from her own bungling. They would move on and she would once again be alone. It simply worked better that way. She nodded and sipped her tea, her belly full of the well-made but cold meal and the tea warming it inside her. Her mind wandered over plans for the future, new allies in the making, and the paths she needed to create ahead of her as the teacup emptied and her mind filled the quiet of the night. So that's the first one.
All right. Well, I think the consensus is since less is more was only actually for clothing options, he said never mind. So I guess they do want to hear the second one.
Okay. This one is an excerpt from Sial's journal, and they tend to be less nice. So buyer beware, listener beware, however one is supposed to say that.
Yeah, nobody pays for anything around here.
This is called Fire in the Hole, Part 4. He was not sorry or afraid. He stared at her with cold amusement. She returned his stare without expression. They stood there like that for what seemed like ages, but was likely only a few minutes. He broke the silence. Come for more? I was pretty thorough last time, and you were a lot of fun with all that begging and wailing, but I'm okay giving you more if you wish, whore. His voice was coldly indifferent, and she allowed herself a chuckle. His expression faltered then, ever so slightly. She leaned back against the stone fence, crossing her arms and appearing completely relaxed. He stood there, vaguely uncomfortable, weapons in hand, waiting for her next move and every muscle tense. She shook her head. See, that's the rub right there. She finally spoke, her voice quiet and sure in the silence of the night around them both. He grunted, waiting for the rest. She nodded. I've tortured. I've killed without mercy. I know that everyone has a cost, a line, a breaking point. You found mine. I respect that, actually. This isn't really personal. It just is what it is. It's time. Her voice was calm and quiet, but solid and sure. He felt the edge of ice in her words, and goosebumps shivered down his spine as fear whispered into his mind. Why had she not killed him yet? What was she waiting for? His begging for mercy? He snorted. I will not give you whatever you came here for. He watched her face and received a faint smile in return. It was cold and amused. He knew that look. He was usually the wearer, and he felt a chill settle into his bones. He lay on the ground moments later, his lifeblood spreading around his nearly severed head, a permanent look of surprise on his face. Silly male, I came for your death. Sometimes, every now and then, what I wish for and what business brings me are one and the same. She spoke to him as she picked through his bag, searching for something there. His spirit, restless, screamed at her unseen and unheard, yet somehow she knew he was there. She kept talking, quietly, sure and firm in tone, as she looked through his possessions. Until today, I did not know your name. You were a line on a contract. You made some enemies, as our kind are wont to do. Of course, once I saw your face, I realized what a beautiful moment chance had brought me. That I am the one sent to finish things. Ah, here it is. She smiled in triumph, and his spirit screamed in rage as she held up the tiny, rolled-up, tied-shut parchment paper at the bottom of the bag, sewn into a small flap to hide it. She unrolled it and read the contents, nodding to herself. Names, dates, addresses of his cohorts, and money paid. What a nice day this turned out to be. She smiled and turned to the corpse, cutting off his finger and then cutting off his pants for good measure, quickly removing one testicle. She dropped the bloody items into 2 separate pouches and smiled at the air around the corpse, feeling, sensing his pure rage and fury. "Ah, don't be bitter. I'm sure we'll have a chance to chat soon enough. Our kind never really live all that long, right?" She grinned and turned, leaving him for the gathering wolves in the background. The forest filled then with the sound of bickering growls and tearing flesh. She imagined she also heard screams of his rage as he discovered the charm she had initially dropped there on the ground by the body, sealing him forever bound to the blood-soaked rocks to watch his body torn apart. Sometimes it just works out so nicely. The end.
Nice.
The end.
Oh, God. That's never going to go away.
No, that's not going anywhere.
Nope.
All right. What about you, Sib?
Me next.
Sure, why not?
I actually got RP this week. I was so excited. I think I RP'd every night. Yeah, every night.
At least for a little bit before you got sore or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, it was actually a lot of fun. And I think my topic of choice will be, was it Wednesday night? I got to spar with Ericus on his character, Caves, who is an Aragonian, and he's basically like my orc's master, teaching her stuff. And it was a lot of fun. We started the match off, and she has learned through his training not to rush in, because the first several fights, hand-to-hand fights they went into, she just bull rushes. And, of course, she goes flying like a pillow or something. I mean, just gets flopped all around. So, anyway, she come in slow, and she faked a couple punches and then got a knee in and was able to grab a hold of him as he bent over holding his stomach, and she basically suplexed him. And that's when the tables turned. Thanks to the awesome rolls. Yeah. She took a punch to the side of her head, or it was a forearm that he landed a nice little punch. She saw stars and had to shake it off. And then the next thing, according to the rolls, she got leg swept and landed on her back. Well, of course, Caves is an arrogant butthole. He's angry, grumpy. He's awesome. So he walks over to talk to Trath, who's watching from the edge of the sparring ring, and grabs her by her throat with his tail and begins to drag her over there. And so she manages to get her fingers just enough that she cannot pass out. And as he's sitting there just chatting away with Trithalis, she manages to squirm around, and I got the final roll, which was a good roll, and I managed to kick his knees out from behind him, and I broke the tail hold. I won because I landed the 3 hits, according to the rolls, but it's still, in a way, my character didn't win because she still got hurt worse. So it was a lot of fun. I enjoy doing that. I feel like I'm coming a long way on the sparring, and thanks to Ericus, who is always there to spar with me or, teach me stuff. He keeps me on track with the roles. But it's always a good time, and I always enjoy it. But that was the one event I wanted to talk about.
Very nice.
Yeah. How about you, Strafe?
Well, of course, as she mentioned, I had Trath over watching the fight. And that was entertaining. Kays, of course, was in fine spirits. Trath wanted to punch him in the nose when she was choking out his girlfriend, but hey, couldn't do anything. It was their fair fight. Rufus, yes. Well, the Master Mayra, she gave me this task to teach her how to meow, right? So I go to her house, teach her how to meow. Now, if she goes to Dune, this one cannot help. If she meows the wrong way and gets the funny look. Suffice to say, this one got his task done and got a new task from the pretty Tavaset. Poetry, of course, went well. Tuesday night, we actually had it at Voli's house. It was a full house plus one. We had a lot of different interaction this time. Still kind of slow.
Yeah, we had to leave and come back in and use that bug.
Use the trick of
Yeah,
we did.
owner doesn't count against the house count.
That was a lot of fun, too. I will say Poetry Night I had a lot of good RP.
People loved her decor. We had a few people go up there out of the normal to do a poem outside the normal three of us. And, of course, our edgelord stood in the back looking at y'all. Not going to say your names. You know who you are.
Gotcha.
Participate. Nah, you stand in the middle, heckle. That's a different. That's adding, though, see.
Boo! Get off the stage! Poetry's for nerds.
Other than that, Trath and Bully sat down and had a good conversation over a bowl of stew, and a small moment. It was still pretty fun. I think it's getting ready to progress her storyline, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah. That's cool. How about you, Yunfei? You do anything this week?
I'm boring.
The Secret World.
No, I didn't even log into Secret World. There was too
Not
much
even
going
for
on.
the dailies this time, huh?
No, sadly.
Yeah, just kind of burning out on it.
A little of that, a little of not really being able to afford it, and a little of my mom getting me a early Christmas present in a new tablet. So I've been playing with that.
Which doesn't come with the correct cables to attach it to modern things. Isn't that right?
No, it does not.
Which is stupid bullshit. But yeah, that tablet was pretty sweet looking too. But
it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, that's cool. Always look forward to at least seeing some of your art, even if you may not roleplay it, have time to roleplay or be able to, or bored of a game. The art is always there. So that's cool. Well, I haven't done much of anything. I'm supposed to be doing stuff, but it's 10, 12-hour days every day delivering packages for corporate Jesus is exhausting. So what I decided to do is I wrote this a long time ago for one of my older characters, Xanis, back in EverQuest 2, which I'm sure if you've listened for a while, you've heard me mention him, but he's probably my favorite character of all time. But there was a time period where he was going from bad guy to good guy. It was a tough transition for him, so this was written around that. It was, I believe I called it First Frostfell, so I'll go ahead and read that instead for the holidays. It was unnaturally cold for the winter in the lush green forests of Greater Fadok. The valley lands, rolling hills spreading out from the great hanging tree city of Calethin. As of yet untouched by the calamity that would be the rending hundreds of years from now. The air itself was still and pregnant with expectation of this first snowfall in years. While smiling, joyful wood elves, half-elves, and the occasional human went about their business on the treetop platforms, for the Fae had not yet been born into the world of Norath. "I don't get it," I grumped, with a sour expression to the woman hanging colorful baubles from every nook and cranny of the small wooden home we stayed in, while she helped me recover and taught me the ways of the once hated surface enemies. Sure, I may not have hated them any more per se, but I didn't really care for them or their joyful, smiling ways. Red gold hair shifted like a curtain as she peeked from behind it over her shoulder. Green eyes twinkled with the light of excitement and, to me, unnecessary happiness for a mere changing to this horrible cold season. There's nothing to get, Xanas. Frostfell's just a time of year to reflect and appreciate what life has given you, to spend with family and friends, to share in it, do good for others, as you would have done for you. Tunar herself has been said to approve of the day, for it brings with it change and growth, not of plans, but mayhap of character. Glaring at her back, at the mention of the goddess that, in my mind at least, ruined and destroyed the very fabric of my reality, and what it meant to be a tear doll. To the hells with Tunar. If she likes it, I want nothing to do with it. Crossing my arms over my chest and turning my head to look out the window as Lita sighed, patiently, with a shake of her head. Outside the window, an elderly elf woman carried far too many bundles for her stooped frame. She made slow progress across the way, her sight blinded by the bundles stacked in her overloaded arms. Her arms went up suddenly as the packages flew into the quiet, chill night, and she went down, having missed the step to the next platform. Landing hard, she looked dazed as the parcels landed and skidded all around her. I chuckled, amused. However, it just wasn't the same. Where I used to delight in the suffering of others, there was a pang, a tugging in my chest that I had not felt before. I do not like it. It was like an invisible, unseen force was literally pulling on my heart in the old woman's direction. Not knowing what it meant, and even less what to do about it, all I could do was stare. A little elf girl and boy, brother and sister by the look of them, had suddenly come to the old woman, helping her up, giving her a wide smile, and she smiled back and thanked them. The girl dusting the woman off as the boy ran around like a child possessed and gathered up the packages. The elf boy balanced them atop each other far easier than the old woman and stepped up to them, looking like nothing more than a stack of boxes and wrapped parcels with legs. The woman and girl traded looks and began to giggle, each going to him and help reduce his burden and revealing his own smiling visage behind the stack. Together, the three of them began to walk with the children, going along with their talking and laughing as they helped carry the load together. I tensed as I felt a delicate hand upon my shoulder. Random acts of kindness, of helping those that need help for no other reason than that they need the help, with no expectation of reward, beyond the reward of helping another in need. I had a retort locked and loaded and ready to fly, but I held my tongue. She handed me a green plant with little red berries tied to it with a red ribbon. You're taller than me. Can you hang this up there for me, right over there? Turning over the plant in my hand, I turned to look at her. Smiling, she just stared down at me, patient, always patient. I couldn't take the look, the hopeful expectation, and looked away at the plant again. Knowing it was just another stupid Frostfell tradition, I stood. After all, she had done so much for me, I could give her this one tiny thing. Just once won't hurt. Stepping before the fireplace, where she had pointed, I stretched out on the tips of my toes and hung it from the support beam that stretched across there. Backing up, I inspected my work and nodded approvingly as she stood beside me. That's the last of the decorations. An important one as well. Thank you, she said quietly, weaving her arm into the crook of mine as she looked up from the hanging plant. For what? Helping me without expectation, for the simple act of helping another. It's not a grand step, perhaps, for most people. For you, Mr. Xanasolegna, it means a lot. She grinned up at me. I looked away, my cheeks growing unpleasantly hot with embarrassment, but also something else. Pride? No, not pride. Pride was something I knew all too well, and this certainly wasn't it. What is there to be proud of in hanging a dead plant, after all? No, it was warm and made me feel good. Deflecting from this, I asked, what is it anyway? It's a magical plant we call mistletoe, she replied coyly. Magical? I sense no magic in the bauble. It's just a dead plant. Are you sure? I looked at the plant again and nodded. It was a powerful magic, Xanis. The magic of tradition. Tugging on my arm with her, she pulled me under it and looked up to be sure, then into my eyes. The tradition of mistletoe is that if people stand under it, they must kiss and bring themselves good luck for the year. To do so, could bring bad luck in its place. Now she stepped into me with her tiptoes, wrapping her arms around the back of my neck, and kissed me. Our first kiss. Truly, though, it was my first kiss as well. I mean, I had kissed before, of course, being hundreds of years old. However, this was the first one in which the act actually had something more to it. A warmth of affection, a tingling of expectation that the person sharing the kiss wanted nothing more from me than to just be with me, and I with her. The blood terror of Dariac, my former self and all I knew, died with that kiss under a mistletoe on a Frostfell eve. Smiling up at me as she stood flat-footed again, looking at me, and pulled out a red fuzzy hat from behind her belt and stuffed it onto my head, batting the white puffball at the end behind my head. Merry Frostfell, Xanasolegna. I cracked the first smile, true smile, in an age as the snow began to fall silently outside. Merry Frostbell, Lita Starfall. That was the first time I remember Frostfell. A first of many things in my long life, in fact. I try to pass that feeling on as best I can, though I'm nowhere near as cunning as Lita was at it. I pass on to you this message all the same. Be kind to one another. Do for others without expectation of reward or praise, simply because it is the right thing to do. That those small acts of kindness build, and while they may not be noticed or even remembered, they will always and forever be felt. So that's my story.
Aww.
Yeah, it's an old one.
Very nicely done.
Yeah, it's all right.
You betrayed your heritage.
Traitor!
It's treason, then.
That's right. So, all right. Well, with that, before we go into our main topic of the goody-good magics and the neutral magics, not necessarily in that order, let's go ahead and do a word from our sponsor in a very special Christmas edition.
just in time for this Christmas season. A Christmas album you didn't even know you needed. Stirring renditions of songs of the holidays in a way you've never heard them before. Performed by one of the greatest music minds in the far lands of Westeros. Hodor's Christmas Carols Volume 1. Listen to the amazing retelling of magical classics like Jingle Bells. Hodor, Hodor, Hodor. Hodor, Hodor, Hodor. Hodor, Hodor. Hodor, Hodor, Ho. Hodor, Hodor. Hodor, Hodor. Hodor, 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 Ho. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, Hodor, Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. And he'll slip a present under your tree with Santa Baby. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, Hodor, Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. He won't forget the reason for this season with Oh Holy Night. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. And sing along with him as he retells that classic of reindeer games, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, Hodor, Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. Hodor, Hodor, Hodor. Hodor, 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 Hodor. 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 Get these classics along with 157 others in Hodor's Christmas Carols Volume 1. Available online everywhere, just in time for the holidays. And remember, have a very Hodor, 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 Hodor. So, there's a thing.
White.
I think
I'm sure the folks from Westeros will love it.
No, it's climbing to the top and living in your hearts this holiday season. That
It's from an old joke I came up with a friend. We were coming back from some Christmas thing, and it was like second season of Game of Thrones. I'm like, what if Hodor did a Christmas album? So for like an hour on the way back, we were just bouncing musical songs in the phrase of Hodor off of one another. And well, now I have some place where I can produce something like that for no good goddamn reason at all, and I thought, why not? Unfortunately, I think it may also be the end of my once hopeful musical career. I mean, I know I'm a talented singer, but I clearly didn't. I don't shine through as I probably should have. Like
something like that.
I've often been said I'm like a white Michael Bublé.
Oh no, you're not.
Ouch.
Is it because he's white too?
More like a white Rodney Dangerfield.
Ooh.
I'll take it.
You'll take it?
I get about as much respect.
Yeah, that's right.
And regard.
Get no respect.
Or esteem either.
No respect. Jeez. Bringing out the really old dead comedians there. All right. Way to keep the show relevant. Want to bring Sam Kinison up too while you're at it? Huh?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, let's continue on with this shit show of a podcast. We'll go ahead and finish up our third part for our musical. God, jeez. That was only 2 hours of production for 4.5 minutes, by the way. Just putting that out there. So, that was a lot of outtakes. You know how hard it is not to say things like the and only use them as Hodor? Turns out not as easy as you think it would. They always slipped in there. But, alright, so main topic. We're going to go over the last two things, which is neutral and goody-good magics. We'll do neutral first and kind of end it on the happy holiday note of good magic. We did how kind of magic in general works 2 episodes ago. Dark magic was last episode. These two I kind of lumped together because there's a lot more cross. Neutral magic is also, I don't know, for me it always seems like it's often seen as, since it's not just like pure evil, it's also seen as kind of good, even though it would actually be neutral. Well, maybe that's just me and my crazy way of looking at things. If it's not pure evil, and maybe it's a little gray, it's probably better. It's better than being evil, right? I mean, a little bit. Like Ellen DeGeneres, like neutral. So she's good. Like, I really don't have any feelings about her one way or the other, so she's good. She's not like Rosie O'Donnell, who's just horrible at everything. So she's evil. See what I'm getting at? This is my talk show analogy.
Hey, move your camera a little bit because your face is hidden by your mic.
Yeah, that's the point. I'm trying to...
Oh, then why have it?
Because I have my boom on the other side, and I haven't actually properly done this yet, and I was hunched over. So, neutral magic.
Sorry to interrupt here, but I apologize. I've got the FCC on the line. Something about noise pollution in a commercial. I'm not sure what they're talking.
Send them over to Yunfei and have her handle that.
Roger that.
And then also tell them that we're actually not broadcast over the air so they can suck it.
Oh.
So, neutral magic. Neutral magic is... It's magic that really in itself isn't inherently good or evil. Maybe it can be used for one of those, but the magic itself doesn't actually become benevolent or malevolent place itself. It doesn't come from a source of good or evil. It just kind of is. Things like nature magic, elemental magic, potion making, alchemy, just general things of that nature. It just kind of is. I don't really see nature as bad or good. It just, it just is what it is. So with that comes, like I said, nature magic would fall into that. These would be people that play like like druids or shamans. I couldn't think of other classes because I'm very tired. Anybody else think of other classes that kind of use nature magic? Or I know those two definitely do.
Wardens do.
Wardens do.
Wardens are natural magic.
Yeah. Okay, so wardens, and that's an EQ one. Maybe the plant people from Guild Wars, Guild Wars 2. They were kind of, because they were plants. I mean, they have to be nature-based, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're literally walking, broccoli.
Yeah, but there was actually evil plants too, so.
True. So, but they were things like cauliflower, like evil cauliflower. Or as I like to call it, ghost broccoli.
Actually, streamer, I was spinach. Don't assume my vegetable.
I apologize. I apologize behalf on all of the lettuce people that I assumed your vegetable. I apologize to the carrots. I apologize to the asparagus, the cucumbers, the avocados. Not Peaches? A tomato, because a tomato is a fruit, not a vegetable. The arugulas. Who doesn't like a good arugula?
Arugula.
Arugula. It's just it's like barracuda. It's just one of those fun words that nobody actually would eat. I mean, if you're eating arugula, stop being pretentious. It's like people that eat kale because it tastes good. No, it doesn't.
Sure doesn't.
Kale would be in the evil magical spectrum.
Did you already say shaman?
Yeah, druid and shaman was the two I had thought of.
Okay.
Or, and variations thereof. And, like nature itself, it really isn't good or evil. It just sort of is. Things die, animals kill one another, rainstorms flood rivers and destroy the landscape, or a stray lightning bolt will start a forest fire, or if you're in California, a gender reveal because you're a fucking moron and burn down hundreds of thousands of acres of land and people and housing. But hey, it was a girl! Moron. The devastation and death are horrible, and, But that's always kind of looking at from, like, our limited human perspective. We always see the things that nature does and like, oh, it's so awful because, Guam tipped over now. And yeah, I mean, it capsized, as the one congressman said. It was so sad. Anyway, ADD moment. But it's nature. Nature is what it is. Snowstorms, all that stuff. And we hate it because it affects our lives. Trust me, I'm not a fan of snow. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's gonna snow this weekend." Yeah. Oh, go fuck yourself. I have to go to work still and deliver and that shit. It's not good. So for me, snow is evil. It's pretty, but it's evil.
In our house, snow is the swear word.
Exactly.
I feel you.
Mm-hmm. So, but the thing is, from all that stuff, from the death, another animal survives. The remains of the animal, it feeds things like bugs, and eventually it'll feed the soil and plants all over the place. It's what you should have learned in basic elementary school, but apparently, given the videos I watch online of hey, do you know how stuff works? In college campuses, stuff's not being taught anymore. So maybe this is the first time you heard it. It's not your fault. Your teachers were just ignorant and taught you badly. So when the swollen river recedes, the rivers change, and sometimes, they'll start watering an area that was once dry, and they'll bring life to it. They'll life from death. Forest fires are horrible in the short term, but revitalize the forest, killing off the choking underbrush, the ash and char becoming overgrown with new life in record time. Nature it's a constant balance of life and death. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I remember it because I'm old, and I'm sure most of everybody here does, but that really bad fire like decades ago in Yellowstone National Park, and they were like, oh no, it's, it just blazed out of control. And like within 2 years, that area had just exploded. And
don't forget Mount St. Helens.
Mount St. Helens. I had family that lived up there. They were covered under ash forever. But and that recovered. It still steams to this day, which is a little creepy when you live near it. Or Mount Rainier, which I've been on top of, and is also very cool, but very, very weird, knowing you're on an possibly active volcano one day. But those kinds of things, it's just, that's nature. For me, that's nature. It just is what it is. So,
fun fact: the cap that's over St. Helens is bulging and smoking. I went up there a few years ago with my stepdad to go visit his folks, and I was like, and you can still see the trees where they blew out from the blast, like still stuck in the snow, facing away from it. It's still kind of a barren wasteland around it.
Yeah,
but it is steam.
My dad lives near there. He works actually out of SeaTac, the Seattle-Tacoma Airport up there.
Yeah.
And we flew over that bulge and saw the steam and smoke from the airplane.
So you've seen it.
This was several years ago, but I was like, well, that seems like a really bad flight plan. I mean, there's a concussive wave that comes out faster than the speed of sound, right? Maybe we shouldn't fly over the Mach 1 plus explosion. And just okay, well, no, all right, well, we'll just keep on going then. But so for me, that's the balance of nature, and that's how typically nature magic is looked at. It's the people that use the shamans and druids. They're the magic users. They know this. They internalize this. This is like where their characters really and their magic really comes from. So, it can kind of come off as like callous to human understanding, but nature doesn't stop just because it hurt our feelings or made our house go away. It's a force of nature. Like Jazz clicking her mouse.
What?
I can hear you clicking your mouse.
Oh my god.
I've been ignoring it for a minute.
We're all hearing it, man.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dead
no,
serious.
I just guessed really well.
I don't see how you can hear that. I can't hear anything, and I have better hearing than any of you.
Well,
okay.
Are you sure?
If you watch the Discord light when you're clicking it and your little guy lights up, see that? That means it's activating.
You might have to put her in the push-to-talk punishment room with me.
Oh my god!
It's not my fault. I don't make it pick up. That's not. I don't do this. I don't know.
How do I fix that?
We'll work on it later. For now, I'm just gonna mock you relentlessly.
What he does best.
Good to know.
I mean, even if it goes completely quiet, still mock you relentlessly just on something else. I'll always find something. Because I like you, Jazz.
I'm sorry, Jazz.
Are you lucky?
I'm so happy to know that.
Aren't you glad you tried to hit on me all them years ago? We're still friends.
I think he's trying to blame you for this.
I think he is. And he's probably not wrong.
You've stuck around. I try to push people away, but some people, they just don't get the hint. So
that's true.
Preach it, brother. So, often the people, the magic users, they go around healing the land from, outside influences, often, other species like, man, orc, and goblins. They'll let the natural ways of the forest happen. They won't stop a wolf from tearing apart gazelle. I don't know what wolves eat. Just assume it's gazelles because gazelles seem to get the shit end of everything. And they just fight to protect nature. So, and they wield the abiliments.
Abiliment?
That's a combination
Have another drink, sweetie. It's
that's
okay.
a combination of abilities and elements. Abiliments. So they have the abiliments of growth magic to heal what was ruined. I don't actually see a lot of people play the druids like that, though. Typically, they'll play the healer part, which, we've gone over and we'll probably go over a little bit again on the good healing, but most of them, it's just kind of like, it doesn't really, the nature of their magic and stuff like that when it comes to the druids doesn't really, they don't play the tree-hugging hippie types, which is kind of what really druids should be like, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
But, I mean, how many druids did we see? They're like, eh. I'm trying to think. We've known a few people that play druids, but they don't really ever play them like druids. It just happens, and given you do. I mean, I guess you can't go just because you're playing a class doesn't mean you have to be the class in roleplay, obviously. But
right, but if you're gonna say you're a warden, then you probably ought to act like one.
Yeah, if you claim to be a druid or you claim to be, because we've known several that did that. They're like, I'm a druid. Druid, that kind of thing, and they're like, I'm gonna chop down this tree.
Like, no, you won't.
But I'm gonna chop it down because I need a house. I need a tree house.
You need a tree house.
I need a tree house. I'm gonna take this tree right here. I don't need anything but this tree and this lamp. I need this lamp too.
Sounds like a jerk.
Does sound like something a jerk would say.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we were really pulling out the old shitty.
You really are.
Yeah. Hey, well, I can't say that. That's shitty. The Jerk is a fantastic movie, and one which could not be made today.
No.
No. Could not be made today. No. That would not go well for Steve Martin. That would end his career.
What are you clicking or what are you doing?
God damn it! I'm trying to fix my stupid mic. It's not so sensitive. And it's apparently not working. God damn it!
You're gonna have to go into the punishment of push to room.
I'm thinking her mic needs a safe space because she is clearly abusing it.
Push to talk, safe space.
No, I mean it's flashing at me. It didn't used to flash at me. I don't know why it's flashing.
Sure,
You're
it
actually
doesn't.
coming through a lot louder now.
Sure,
too.
it doesn't.
Huh?
You're coming through a lot louder now,
You
too.
are.
Am I better now? I just it back.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
That's
I
weird.
mean, I have never...
I don't even pretend to understand
in
how
all
mics
the years
work.
I've known
So-
you, I've never heard you complain about something flashing you. But, so this is the first...
What is that? That's a true statement right there.
That was cute. Sorry.
I'm just wallowing in it. I'm just wallowing
Uh-huh.
in it.
Oh my gosh.
So technical difficulties aside, nature magic.
Right.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah,
I
all right.
really am trying to fix it.
It's the end of the year. It's the last episode of the year. This is like being at work the Friday before you're on a 2-week vacation. I mean, really, you've already... We're checked out. I mean, Sib...
No, I am at work.
Sib and I aren't even wearing pants. I mean...
No pants today.
Yeah, I mean... if it wasn't for the top torso, I don't think I'd even be...
It's a pants-free
wearing
holiday.
anything. Yeah, so... there's songs about that. So that's nature magic. It's always the growth and plant stuff. It never gets a lot of play. Probably because a lot of people don't care for that. I'm not like a tree hugging hippie type. I think we should always be good stewards of the earth. Obviously, I don't think we should go around, like I said previously, like Captain Planet villains, or an episode of MacGyver just dumping toxic waste into streams and rivers and killing people's dogs that drink it downstream. That was an actual episode of MacGyver.
You might, if the local orc clan trying to get rid of the druids keep thinning their numbers.
Right, yeah. And you can do that stuff, but it really doesn't seem to happen a lot.
Do you remember that quest in EQ2 in, it was a cave? Was not the sac? What were they? The lizard people. They weren't the Ixar. They were the other ones.
Sarnak?
The Sarnak. When they brought the Sarnak into the game, remember that? And you went down into this cave and you poisoned the water and they all died.
I remember several quests like that.
Yeah, it was really
games,
and if you originally, when you put the water in, you could then go to the edge and watch them all die.
Yeah,
they took that out for some reason, because then nobody could actually update the quest because the next thing wanted you to go kill them. They were all dead and had to respawn. It was actually pretty funny. But yeah, I remember that. I remember very disturbed by that and realizing that there was something wrong with me because it was so real to me. I couldn't finish the quest.
Yeah, that one's well, there's people that were like, "Here, go kill 15 bunnies," and people are like, I think Sib actually was like, "I don't want to kill the bunnies. You got to kill the bunnies. It's the only way to keep going. But I don't want to kill the bunnies."
Oh yeah.
Well, close your eyes.
I'm the same way, Sim.
Bunny hat. That bunny hat. I didn't want it.
Boy, Gormal had that bunny hat.
Yeah.
Lots of bunnies.
I killed lots of bunnies for that hat.
Wasn't it 500?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. I felt nauseous by the end of that.
Then I would roleplay throwing dead rabbit carcasses at guildmates as they walked by Gormal.
You got them by their.
Happy Bunny's Day. Toss.
Flappy bunny ears like.
Yeah. I remember that.
If you throw it back, Gormal will be cooking it for you, and they barf. You know,
it was
good time
great.
Playing Red Dead Redemption
I honestly
2,
loved that RP. I loved Gormal RP. We could make people sick. It was great.
Yeah, he was the worst at being the best. But yeah, playing Red Dead Redemption 2 when you're striding through an area with your horse, if you go off the track, there's all sorts of woodland creatures, and every now and then you'll hear boom, as you run over a rabbit. It's like, oh, hey, I got an achievement. All right. Bunny death.
Gamers are terrible people.
Yeah. Really are. Really are. So
I changed my attitude about it though. In ESO.
Yeah,
I kill every little thing.
Kill them
all. You have to.
Boy, howdy, she does. Bully will run around, see something cute, step on it, spell it, spear it. If it crawls, it dies.
Mm-hmm.
I eat the guts.
I know.
Case in point. Trath was showing her around Somerset one day, and he was showing her romantic waterfalls, all this kind of stuff. And he's being a high elf. The problem came when this long-necked heron landed, and this looked so peaceful and serene. And then Valerius went over there and chopped off with its head, and it made this horrible noise. Trath looked at her and went, "Do you feel better now, darling?" She's like, "Yes, I need the guts for fishing. Don't judge me."
It's a big joke every time we're out running around or doing some RP. I have to kill all the small things. I need their fishing guts. Oh, sorry. I'm a horrible person now.
That's hilarious.
Finally, you've come to my way of seeing things. So, all right. So, included in the neutral magics, I put in elemental magic, earth, air, fire, water. Those are typically the 4 basic elements of magic. Also, the 4 elements used in the 5th element, Mila Jovovich being the 5th. Completely unrelated to what we're talking about. Just a good movie. A lot of people.
She was hot.
Yeah, she was.
Dino Dallas Multipass.
Although I am glad they'll be redoing Resident Evil without her in that timeline, and maybe we can get a real Resident Evil series. I did enjoy the Resident Evil series. Like a real Leon
and Claire?
Yeah, I get a real Resident Evil movie now.
I liked Alice.
I did too, but it still wasn't Resident Evil. I want
with
Resident
It was
Evil.
Totally different thing.
It was kind of like watching Ready Player One. It's got
That's right.
elements of Ready
Bros
Player
before
One.
hoes. I see how it is.
That's right, ho.
That's right, ladies.
Oh.
We're ready to get rid of these
Hey,
bros.
There's 3 of them. Ho, ho, ho.
Tis the season, my friend.
Oh my God.
Tis the season.
Ashton, you are going to hell. You know that?
Oh, yeah. I'm riding on the back of Santa's sleigh, baby.
Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year.
This is what I get to live with.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. All right. So like I was saying, earth, air, fire, water. So a lot of times people put in lightning, electricity in there, and makes sense.
Well, it is a source of. It is a kind of fire. It's electrical fire. But
right.
Fire.
Yeah. It kind of comes in there, but some people do it as its own thing, which, I mean, I'm not too really care all that much about for me, but the 4 basics are definitely earth, air, fire, and water for elemental, and everything can kind of sprout out for there. I also see a lot of people put in light and shadow magic. Like it's
people put shadow magic as its own form of element, and I don't know where they get that from. They obviously flunked physical science.
Right. Like I mean, I get it for like silly, like Pokemon does that, but they, and that's fine for Pokemon, but it's not an actual element of like a scientific element kind of a thing. But I'm glad you're with me on that, because that's not elements. I mean, they're light and shadow, or they're opposing forces, like one can't exist without the other kind of a thing. It's not that it's like earth, air, fire, water, light and shadow. Well, it's not really.
Unless you're in Hyrule, then the whole shadow thing is a whole different ball game.
Yes, but even in Hyrule, shadow was a form of earth.
I don't think you were talking about the same game, darling.
Yeah,
Oh, Hyrule is
Legend of Zelda.
Oh, that. Never mind.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And yes, Rahanar, you are correct. We did forget about the other fifth element, heart. When our powers combine, we will summon Captain Planet.
That useless skinny guy that was on their team.
Wasn't he I think he was like Puerto Rican, wasn't he?
He was the guy that Jazz warned us about in Silver Circle, that heart comes last. So.
Oh no, I was talking about Captain Planet.
Yeah, I know. So am I.
Yeah. Yeah, he had the most useless power of all, and the others are like, I'm shooting fire, wind, and air, and I make the earth rise. And I'm like, the other one's there, I'm a Care Bear.
You guys shoot my feelings. No, you go away.
He went around again to all college campuses and was just shooting hearts out at everybody, like a Gatling gun of loathing and self-pity and tender girly feelings.
Dang.
Yeah, was it? See, when he spells it out, it looks like Mai Tai, but I think it's Mati. I
don't remember, man. All I remember is it was similar to our rules in Silver Circle, but heart came last, and every time she said that, I thought of that little goofy skinny kid from Captain Planet. I was like, oh god, someone burn that.
Yeah, he was the Princess Peach of Captain Planet. Why? Can't believe this is probably the most airtime Captain Planet has gotten from anybody in the history of ever. The shitty cartoons we watched in the 90s. God, they were so amazing.
Still a lot better than what we got today.
I don't know. The Amazing World of Gumball. Did you see that thing someone posted?
No.
And someone posted something in our.
Well, I'll retract my statement because Castlevania was off the rails. It was so good.
That's true. No, there are some good ones, but if you've never seen Wonderful World of Gumball, it is a fucking weird show. I mean, it makes SpongeBob look like,
normal.
But they did this horrible like back and forth of like what roleplay is between the two characters, and it was unfortunately very close, not for like role-playing in MMOs, but like the Kick app kind of roleplay that you hear about. It was very close to that. Yeah. So, all right. Elemental magic, blah blah blah. Where are we at? I don't know. I'm so easily distracted tonight. Okay, so elemental magics do fall under the types of evocation magic that we had talked about in our very first episode, 2 episodes ago, about magic. Not our first episode, which would sounded more like me echoing constantly and us not knowing what the fuck we were doing. Future episode idea: Golden Girls RP. I for one believe that I would be the cranky old mom.
I agree.
Yeah, I always loved that woman. Jazz, you get to be the sexually promiscuous older lady.
Okay.
Wasn't that Betty White?
No, that was
Betty
the other
White,
one. Yeah, Betty White was
White was a nice one.
She was the dumb one.
She was also
she was just dumb.
She was the sweet one, so she would be Sib.
Okay. But Sib's not dumb. That was me.
No, but she's nice.
I'm like a mix between what was her name?
Blanche
and Dorothy. I'm kind of a nice blend. No, Blanche what was the old lady? Dorothy's mom.
That's who I am.
No. You're Dorothy.
Sally Struthers.
I'll settle for Sam Malone on Cheers. Y'all have fun playing the old bags.
No. This is what our people. Azure Lay in the chat. Sophia, thank you, Azure.
Sophia, thank you. Yes.
They wanted Golden Girls roleplay, so we're gonna have to figure this out. This is clearly what the people want.
It's clearly what the
people
want.
Are sick individuals. All right, moving on from Golden Girls roleplay. This is the dumbest show ever. Sorry. So yeah, evocation falls under elemental magic. The magic actually itself is benign. It's kind of how it's used by the wielder that actually determines if it's good or bad. Kind of think like Harry Potter. You know, the good wizards and bad wizards, often they use the same spells in that series. Of course, there's some that like Avada Kedavra that you're not supposed to use because it's evil, because it instantly kills you. But for the most part, a lot of the spells are crossed over, and it wasn't the spell doing the good or evil, just the person casting it. So like the freezing spell, the one that like turns you kind of, locks your body up. Freezing someone to sneak out of your dorm, not bad. Freezing somebody and pushing their body into a raging river so they drown, a little evil.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they had it coming for not paying like they should have. You know what I'm saying?
Just ask Kylo Ren. He freezes folks in the forest, but it's the same deal.
Exactly. And laser bolts, which, something moving at the speed of light, that's some reflexes.
Yeah, I thought that was questionable, too.
Yeah. It was still a really cool effect, though. You gotta admit that. It's pretty damn
cool. Oh, yeah, it was
effect.
neat. I mean, when he's still Darth Issues II.
Yeah, it's true. Darth Issues Jr.
Junior.
We named the dog Indiana.
Wrong way, Dad.
Elemental magic is probably one of the most diverse groups because of this. It just covers so much, and it gets used in so many fighting spells often. And, getting creative with the spells, their ways of being cast, their power and intensity, it leaves a lot of fun wiggle room and role play. Like fire, for example, can do, something as mundane as, I've used it to, like, snap my finger. I can't actually snap in real life. Somebody that can actually snap doesn't have little sissy fingers like me. Thank you. Can snap and, spark up a fire, or like act like it's a flamethrower. If they can concentrate it enough in a blast, they can like burn through steel or stone if you can have enough control over it. There's a lot of diversity in elemental magic. I've things that people have done with the lightning. I've seen ice. Funny enough, now because it's been out and it's so popular, a lot of the stuff from Avatar: The Last Airbender and Korra have kind of bled into a lot of roleplay, and even if it hasn't meant to, it just comes off that way because it wasn't that they're worth ripping off, but they did it so remarkably well and so many different creative ways of using the elements that it just sort of happens. It's like they covered almost every angle you could hit, and I don't know anybody that probably, even when it's not meant to be that way, it still comes off that way at that point.
Yeah.
And it's fine, but when somebody does it so well like they did with the fire bending and the earth bending and the air and all that stuff, it's kind of hard not to be like, they kind of used it better than anyone we've used it before in roleplay, so they kind of set the bar really high, And if you've never seen any of those shows, you're actually missing out, by the way. Just saying. They were really, really good. And the animation is fantastic. You and Faye, back me up.
I've actually never seen it.
Dang, left you hanging in the cold.
I wondered because you weren't agreeing with me, and I know when you've seen something and you really like it, you'll be like,
Not a great start to your career, young Fi.
So homework over the Christmas season.
Homework over the Christmas season.
You need to watch at least. You have to. Korra was fantastic too, but you still at least have to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender with Yang. That one, that's a must watch. So.
Yeah, it's on my list.
Okay, well, bump it up. Bump it up past. I don't know.
Up the jam, bump it up.
That part brought to you by the 90s. Nothing says 90s like pump up the jam at your local skating rink. The 90s. Wow, Jazz.
I miss the skating rinks, man. Those are cool.
We still have one around here. So, once again, lost my spot. Okay.
Thank you.
Lastly, with the neutral stuff, potions and alchemy, because this one is vastly dependent on the lore of the game, because it can be something as simple as like herbology, where it's just mixing ingredients and they have chemical reactions to get the desired results. Basically, exactly like what like pharmaceutical companies do these days, but on a more little less synthetic level, perhaps. But the idea is the same. You mix a few things together, it affects the body in a certain way. There's no magic involved. It's literal science. That's just all there is to it. The other way of doing it is also that combined with infusing magics to get some kind of potion you need, or poisons. I mean, poisons can come out of that too. Then again, anything, I don't know why anything can be a poison, by the way. When you hear those, ADD moment, I'm going to rant on something stupid that drives me out of my mind. When you hear that something like, it turns out eating apples could kill you. It was shown in certain rats that apples will destroy your internal organs. Because of this toxic chemical inside, or this pesticide. What they don't tell you that on those tests typically is that in the rats that ended up forming cancer, it was because they gave them like 10,000 times the amount of poison an average human could take in on a daily basis repeatedly, and then they got cancer from it. So
it's scaremongering, man.
That stuff. Yeah. There's a lot. It's like, yes, any water. Remember that poor woman at that contest that died for a DS because she drank water?
Oh, no, it was Hold Your Wii for a Wii.
No, there was a water one, too, for a DS. Was there a Wii one that she died, too?
Yeah, I think so. I thought that's what you were talking about.
Yeah. No, there was one where they had to drink like a gallon or more of water. Whoever drank it the fastest got a DS for her son for Christmas, and she drank it super fast, but she got water poisoning and died. Because, other than drowning in it, you can do that because there's not enough salt and things in your brain, and your synapses can no longer do it because you've inundated it with liquids, and you go brain dead.
Yeah, that was
remember,
sad.
eat crackers. Saltines will save
Lots
you.
and lots of saltines.
I hadn't heard about the Wii for a Wii one, which, by the way, very clever name. I actually like that. Unfortunately, it was for a Wii.
Yeah, not so good in practice, though.
No, and that's not...
It was something along the same lines where they had to drink a gallon of water and then...
hold it.
Sit and hold it.
And that can seriously injure you.
That's only like kidney failure stuff. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah,
you can go into cardiac arrest from that nonsense.
Yeah. But
I had to listen to my doctor lecture me about not going to the bathroom enough for that reason.
Well, people are ridiculous. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of those radio shows, they're just trying to get ratings. And like those people that did that, the lady at the time, where she's like, I really don't feel good. I feel awful. She's like, well, yeah, that's just your brain drowning in water. All right, wait, is she? Oh crap, medic!
Yep.
And that ended their career. And they also have to.
KZPR does not responsible for you going brain dead over imbibing too much water.
So tune in next year as we have our water drinking contest for stickers.
Oh gosh, no.
What? No, is that not a?
No, it's not a thing.
Okay, well. All right, well, tune in next year as Drink Arsenic for stickers.
No arsenic, no strychnine. We can't afford the legal fees, man, and we just cleaned up that mess.
You guys you're just nothing but a bunch of spoilers. This is why nobody likes you.
You're a spoiler.
I have been known to. By the way, Snape kills Dumbledore.
Oh, God. You're horrible.
Yeah. So with the other kind of thing, this is more like an alchemy, I think, when magic gets involved in the potions. One, again, like I said, it really is dependent on the lore of the game. Dresden Files, remember that? Dresden Files? Jim Butcher, they used a really kind of interesting way that they did, excuse me, I keep hiccuping, the potions. They had to fill 8 basic, like, stats, which was the base, scent, touch, taste, sight, sound, mind, and spirit. And it was like a 8-pointed star, and the circle held the power, of the mind. So, like, to create his escape potion that he did in one of the first books, the base was Jolt Cola, scent was motor oil, because remember, it's an escape potion. Pieces of feather for touch, chocolate-covered espresso beans for taste, a shadow, sight, mouse scampers, sound, like a sound of a mouse scampering, a shredded bus ticket for mind, and a broken chain link for spirit. And that was how he would brew. They would mix all that stuff together, and then he would bottle, use the magic to kind of combine the essence of all those things, and then put it in like a squeeze bottle. And when they drank it, obviously it would taste like ass, because it's got all that shit in it. But it would also, right? Mm-hmm. And Jolt Cola. I mean, anybody drinking Jolt Cola, you are not in for a good day. But then when they drank it, it would turn them into like a puff of mist, and they would be able to like whoosh away. The other one that they brewed in that series was a love or lust potion. So tequila, naturally, was the base, because what other alcohol would you use for bad decisions in love and lust? Perfume for scent, shredded lace, oh my, for touch, dark chocolate for taste, which, by the way, they should have obviously gone with milk chocolate, because dark chocolate is like the chocolate ass of chocolate. It's awful.
For some of us who like it. Yeah,
people
like
without
it.
Taste buds. Yeah, I understand that.
Hey.
Candlelight for sight, a sigh, which is what I do when people say they like dark chocolate, for sound. Shredded $50 bill for mind. It's a lust potion. And ashes from a romance novel for spirit. And together that would all combine, and that would get you love and lust potion in the Dresden world. Now, the cool thing, too, about the way they did that is you had to fill those 8 things, but those were just the items that he used that represented that. It didn't have to be like shredded lace for touch. It could have been something, like leather straps or something. I don't know what Jazz would use. Or milk chocolate for taste. That kind of thing. What? You have them.
Nothing.
All right, so and that was kind of that was the neat way about the Dresden Files and way of doing potions, was that it was kind of up to interpretation, as long as you filled the bases of them, and that was powerful enough to actually combine for that in your mind and through the magic. And so also, in like all magic, there needs to be limits. A healing potion should be more powerful than, say, modern medicine, or taking Tylenol or ibuprofen, but it also shouldn't be an instant heal either. Or magic restoration restoration potion has limits, perhaps poisoning you and disrupting the magical abilities if you keep downing them. If you're trying to get your mana back and you keep downing restoration potion after potion after potion when you're doing a powerful spell, there has to be a side effect. Toxins build up in your system.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Something to keep you from just being like, I can infinitely, fire out of my hands. Which is good use of the same word twice, like in songs. But yeah, that's one thing. It in the end, consequences for actions make for fun RP. God modding does not. So it's one of the things that, and a lot of, especially in ESO, because Elder Scrolls is so prevalent with the potions of like healing and magic restoration or mana restoration, or whatever they call it. People just down those things like it's Jello shots. That's it's like I can do this all day.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes for me. It's always kind of taken some of the fun out of it because there's almost they're like, oh, I got stabbed. I'm healed.
I notice a lot of people, particularly in this game, use them as just some kind of total magic. Boom, you're healed. You're fine.
Yeah, it's
they work in the single players. That's why
God modding it. Yeah,
and it's really a form of God modding to me. It's
which in the single players, you're right, Straffe, is perfectly fine for a single player because you're just it's single player mechanic. It's mechanics, and even in the game, mechanics are one thing, but when you role play it, you gotta take into a little bit more consideration than just like you can't just take into every mechanic. It seems like a lot of people do though.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And when
I'm saying that's probably what they're thinking.
No, yeah, I agree with you. But when you're playing stuff like that, it kind of sucks the fun out of the room, really. I mean, you're like, you want to play like, oh hey, we can. Oh, how are we going to survive this situation? Oh, it's dire straits and this and that, and then all of a sudden, I can fix it. They're like fucking fix it Felix. They just bang it with their hammer and ba-ding, they're fine.
More like Wreck-It Ralph. No, I said after they drink their potion, it's more like Wreck-It Ralph. Never mind.
Yeah, Fix It Felix is the one that made things better. Wreck-It Ralph would probably be the fun one.
That's what I'm saying. Anyway.
I'm glad. Your hair sure is pretty.
Shut up, stupid.
She's learning well, Ashen.
But yeah, I've always like you listen to stories and things like that. The heroes or your characters should be in a dire situation, but it's almost impossible to come across because there's and what are you gonna do? Like, come on, dude, don't do that. And it's like, no, but that's what I would do. And then you don't want to get into an out of character argument over something like that. But it kind of sucks. Kind of. You don't get those episodes of Stargate or Star Trek or things like that where they're like, how are we going to get out of this situation? And you got to think your way out of it. But instead they're just like, they just chug a potion and poop, they're out of it. Like, oh, well, that's just lazy writing.
Well, even on Star Trek, whenever there was a problem, the transporters were never working.
Yeah.
Of course, their policies won't get out.
Yeah. And like, it is kind of tacky in roleplay to just chug a potion and have done with it.
Yeah. Azure Lave. Sorry, I always say Azure way too fast, so it's like Azure Lave. I think they are better as little shots that are temporary until everything is taken care of. Like, if you burn out your magic pool, just down a potion and that'll start your regen process, but it's not going to be like I have all the magicka returned, which is honestly that's the way a lot of the people around me have always done it. They just like chug it down and they're good to go. It's not really a slow restoration or a slow drip.
But then a lot of these people that do that are also like, poof, you're healed. And
right.
It's kind of the same lazy roleplay. So
it's lazy writing. Deadpool had it right.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
No.
You want to be descriptive.
Yeah, and you want. I like things that drag out for a little bit. Don't have an instant heal kind of a thing. Or an instant consequence free solution. I don't like instant solutions, I guess is what I'm getting at. So.
Well, yeah, that doesn't make for a good story,
No, it doesn't. It's the whole argument of well, why didn't Frodo or why didn't Gandalf have Frodo just ride the eagles from the start? Because there wouldn't have been much of a book. I mean, it's a funny joke, I get it, but it would have been a pretty short trilogy if it was only 3 pages long. And Gandalf realized the Ring of Power was with the little hobbit. He called upon his eagle friends. It was a one-day trip as they chucked it over the side into the volcano, and Sauron was defeated.
Yeah.
That's that's literally and then the end.
Yeah, Luke and the Lear style, the end.
Right.
The end.
pretty damn well.
Thank you.
Yes. Very well. Almost too well. We'll take care of that later.
Later.
Oh my. I'm sorry, Sib. I didn't mean to turn the charm on her. She can't help herself. It's not her fault. It's my charisma.
She does like younger guys.
That's true.
She does, Precious. She does.
There it goes.
There you go.
There's the cougar alert.
I'm so uncomfortable right now. It's like being growled at by your sister.
Meow.
All right, so that's the end of what I had for neutral magic. So now let's go to the light side of the good and fluffy magics. So this is something that doesn't get role-played a lot. At least not by anybody on this show. Not very often.
I'm playing a paladin right now. Beg to differ.
In what?
I play a Templar in ESO.
No, that's not the same. That's just... That's like Paladin Light.
I mean...
Paladin Light.
Paladin Light?
You're like half Paladin.
Pass me one of them there Paladin Lights, please.
That's right. It's like... It's 1 calorie of Paladin. I think Discord's being a bitch, by the way. I'm seeing a lot of my lights not lighting up. And I'm not hearing anybody.
Oh.
So he's trained in restoration, and he...
Yeah, you're going to need to say all that again. Discord's being a bitch, and no one was coming through.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Aww.
Not on you. It's just Discord I noticed blinked out.
Well, Trav is trained as court healer, and he relies on Oriel to supply him his restoration arts. So it's kind of a paladin thing.
It's definitely divine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. If you say so.
He's hating, man.
All right, so light magic. Typically, the light magic comes from a place of purity or good. Often it's divine magic. And yes, I get it. Evil gods are often divine as well, like the evil god worshippers of Inarek, say, for EverQuest 2. Or,
you would be surprised how many times I had to explain that to people.
Yeah,
like,
Moloch Ball in ESO. Yeah,
because they were like, I would explain that my character couldn't handle divine
right,
magic.
any divine, whether it's good or
any
evil.
divine. And they're like, well, this is Inarek, it's okay.
Like, it's still
okay,
divine.
It's still divine. And it's not okay.
Right, the word...
he's evil.
The word... and that's... and I understand kind of where they're coming from, because the word divine typically... And that's what I'm getting at here is... the word divine itself, it's divine. You know, it's almost synonymous with good. You know, it's part of that just comes from modern religions of good. You know, Christianity,
Judaism,
even Islam. You know, with Allah and stuff like the good ones aren't trying to blow themselves up, but the typical normal people that celebrate that, it's a divine magic. It's synonymous with being good. You know, it's just how people are grown up with it. So the thought of it's still a god. You know, like Loki.
Yeah,
Loki's magic is divine. Loki's not a good guy. He's not a good.
Definitely not. He's a good troll though.
He's hot. I get that. Women apparently are slightly attracted to him for whatever reason.
I don't get that, but yeah.
Wow, really? I think
you're
the only one that's never.
No, I don't find Loki
handsome.
I don't feel that he. I just think he reminds me of a 12-year-old. I would punch him in the face, and that would be the end of it. So, yeah.
Wow. I really think you're the first woman I've ever heard. I
was gonna say same here.
Thor. Now I'm all about Thor.
Okay, so what about Jason
Momoa?
Aquaman. What about Aquaman?
Oh, don't get me started on that yummy man. I want to take him home and lock him in a room that only I have access to. Bad things. Bad things. I would do so many bad things. Anyway, where were we? What were we talking about?
What you're saying is you've noticed him.
Just a little, yeah.
We actually watched a thing with him, too. I've watched him since Stargate Atlantis. That was the first thing he was really in. I honestly think he just plays himself. He's one of those actors that can get away with just kind of like Chris Pratt or Ryan Reynolds. Like, they're just playing a character that's themselves, and that self happens to just be awesome. You know? He's a funny dude, too. Yeah, he was telling us, what we were watching, that there was the British talk show guy he was on with, and he was talking about in Aquaman how, they showed hold yourself, Jazz, the shirtless picture of him in the water, but it was in, like, Greenland or Iceland where it was super freezing. And he's like, yeah, I had the scuba suit on from the waist down, but it was below the water, so it didn't matter. But while I was getting in the water, the bubbles were kind of coming up, and it's like looked like I'm like that, and it was really cold. And then I was like, they got all up to right under my the belt line, so I thought, oh, I'll let the air out, and he opened it up, and the water rushed in, and it's like, he's a funny guy. Because not many people would tell that embarrassing story of your willy shrinking.
It's true.
Yeah. The water was cold. It was cold.
It's cold out there.
So,
but he is divine.
He was what many women would consider divine.
Well, he is divine. The magic he uses or the power he uses is divine, but... Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, a completely different divinity of a sort. But yeah, so even good and bad gods, they technically use divine magic, but it really is, like I'd said, it's really only thought of divine as being the good guys, and that's typically only how everybody seems to look at it. They can all draw on the magic, and often is not that. I think the reason it also comes into that is the bad gods are often very, very stingy with their magic, and rarely do people, seem to think of it as divine because of that. Despite it coming from a god, they're not, like Inaruk and Moloch Baal aren't like, oh yes, please use my power to do good, and they're not like, oh yes, use my power to do evil, because they want to keep it for themselves. They're evil. They don't, they don't go share it. They're not good sharers. What I'm getting at. They don't share well with others. So, for the most part, divine magic really does refer to the good guys. It doesn't have to. And if I remember, like what you had said, Jazz, it wasn't just that guy that was trying to, he was like, oh no, it's evil magic, so it's okay. It was also, he's like, oh yeah, and Inaruk's about love and likes to heal people.
That's true. They really didn't seem to grasp that. It was the same group of people, really. Okay. They would say, for Christmas, Inaruk wants you to be happy and love, and it was just like,
he's a trolly little god of hate.
He's a troll face. It would send Vaka into spasms because she referred to him as that troll faced bastard of hell.
In which he would take pride in.
Yes, she hated him with the passion of a son, and that would have made him very happy. And I rember one of the biggest fights that Xanis and her ever had. He was like, that would make him really happy, right?
Yeah, he pointed out, like, your hatred of him he is the Lord of Hate. You get that you're giving him exactly what you want, you dim-witted buffoon. She
was just like, you need to stop talking.
Yeah. Raymond did the same thing to her. She hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was always really funny to quote something so obvious, really, that if you hate the god of hate, aren't you actually worshiping the god of hate?
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. But remember, this is about the good guys now. So back to peace and light. Back to the breathe in, breathe out. Remember, there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents. Happy little trees.
Happy little trees.
Happy trees. So, all right. So, divine magic is more often, not like we said, it's thought of to come from a benevolent god or goddess. Their faith and their prayers providing the connection to that being, following the customs, living a pious life, maybe helping build orphanages, things that allow that divine magic to be used in service of others from the god or goddess of your choosing. So, that's there's definitely a line to toe when using divine magic. You don't typically be like, I don't really believe in the guy, but I'm going to use his magic anyway because he provides it for me on a service charge. You know, I pay a monthly fee.
A monthly fee. Most of the time, clerics are devoted to a certain deity. Will get their divine magic through their devotion to that deity, so they can use their spells. Be it anything in D&D or old school EQ1. EQ2 kind of blurred the lines on that, but I think it was the same thing.
Beginning, and then it got blurry. As it went on.
Yeah.
Yeah, lower wise it was always basically the same. Mechanic wise, it got pretty blurry there at the end. Let's see here. I can see that. Zurle says, with Divine Magic and the Elder Scrolls, I think they don't fit as well as they do with other IPs, since there's just magic. 8 sleeping dead gods don't really give out power. But with other IPs, it can totally fit in. And you're absolutely right, because with the gods in the Daedra, really, the Daedra aren't actually gods. They're kind of their own thing.
I'm not really sure what you would call them. They're really just really powerful people.
They'd almost be like demigods, really. If you were going to put them into that category, they'd be
I would say demigod more than god, because they're...
And there's good ones and there's bad ones, but, and there's just shades of gray in between. But, even like the Greek gods of old, even the good one, like Zeus, was just a prick. He was a pretty big bastard. Thor, is often thought of, he's supposed to be pretty egotistical and very self-important. He's not the Chris Hemsworth Thor of Marvel, really.
Yeah. No.
Although he does have a pretty big ego on him himself,
He does, and I do look. Yes, I do look good, don't I?
Yeah.
I mean, so
and the amount of power he controls, he's just like, let's kick this bitch. But you're right. With Elder Scrolls, it definitely the divine is far different. People still obviously like the Dark Elves, they worship the three, and they're technically gods to them, but they aren't really gods because we know the true story behind it.
Right.
But a lot of the magic that the Dark Elves use, it's just magic that they use in service to them. They actually don't get it from the three. It doesn't. There are places and times in which that happens, especially if you do the storylines. But for the average roleplay character, most people kind of would look and frown. I'm in a Dark Elf guild that worships them, and they heavily frown on any use of I was gifted blah 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 by Sothasil. He gave me this. It's there was sure. All right, Mr. Crazy Pants, if you say so. You go over there and play with play with your little gears and have fun. Here's the coloring book. We're gonna go over here and play with the adults. It doesn't go over real well in ESO. But things like Final Fantasy 14 is actually kind of in the same vein as ESO, because the Hydaelyn kind of is the one god there, really, and that's story-wise, it's basically a dead crystal, which kind of makes you wonder where magic's coming from if the dead crystals, they kind of plot hole. EverQuest, Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft. I don't know enough about. Strafei, you know a little about Warcraft. Do they have that kind of thing with their gods?
Yeah, they have elder spirits, and then, of course, they have the elder demons and the Burning Crusade and all that stuff that pulled and tugged at Azeroth and all that mess.
Okay.
Ericus would probably be a little better to talk to. He's more up on it than I kind of quit after what do you call it?
Yeah, but you've played more past level 7, which is as far as I got.
Well, yeah, I played at 20, but I was more the RTS and the story mode, and that was always cool. But
right, that's cool. You still knew more than I did. I was like, I don't even know the gods. So
yeah,
for all I know, they didn't have them. I almost stepped in a hole there. Whew, thanks for pulling me out.
No problem, boss.
Awesome. So, yeah. When it comes to the divine things with the spells, often their spells are things that will, they banish evil. Things like undead, especially, are very, very susceptible, given they kind of arise from the polar opposite. Light and shadow. One cannot exist without the other, and When the light grows brighter, the shadow grows darker. Okay. It's a little dramatic for me, but I've heard it. I listen to a lot of books. That's kind of a theme. It's not a bad one, but it's a little played out. They also do things like protective wards, shields, and it's all drawn from the strength of the faith itself. You know, their god. And it does typically, you know, they do use a lot of like bright, flashy magic. Typically, the undead thing. That's from an old way back from the D&D days of influence that EverQuest drew very, very heavily from, to the point of near copyright infringement. But they played that line beautifully.
Yeah, they did.
And since then, it's been it spreads out from D&D, from EQ, and it's just part of fantasy lore across the board at this point. So with that too, with the goodies, one of the biggest things obviously would be magic healing, because many healers are often priests or priestesses. In fantasy MMOs, the healing powers come from their god of choice or learned magics. In the case of ESO, it'd be learned magics, which are typically, same reason someone becomes a doctor. They want to heal people. And as we said, there has to be limitations to the magical healing. I know we went over this with the dark healing, and we went over this in the original one too, but I just can't stress it enough sometimes. Healers are too often one of the most god-modded character types in all of RP.
Really
Even more
are.
than the edgelords, more than the half-dragon vampires. It should be able to do more quickly than, say, modern medicine, like ibuprofen, and also maybe go at the speed of plot for RP purposes. Maybe
speed of plot. I like that.
There was I got that from J. Michael Straczynski, the writer of Babylon 5 and a lot of comic books. Because in all these shows that they have, like how someone asked him, like, how fast did the White Star have to travel to get there in time? He said to a fan in the middle of a convention, it flew at the speed of plot. Because it needed to be there when it got there, so that the story was told well. And things move at the speed of plot. That sounds like an episode in its own right. But when it comes to healing, if you want, like Jazz, your character was out for 3 months, you easily could have been like a week, 2, 3 weeks, a month, and she'd have been fine, and nobody would have batted an eye, right?
No.
Right.
No.
You didn't want to do that.
But there's also people who were like at death's door, and 2 days later they're at an event.
Right.
God, that irritates me to no end. It's like, if you are truly going to say that your character almost died, put your big girl panties on, or boy, and keep your character out of the limit for a little while, because that only makes sense. I don't understand that.
My character was beheaded. They put it back on. There's no reason for me to not be doing jumping jacks the next morning.
Seen that.
We saw that, didn't we?
I thought you guys referenced something about that. Was that not a bullshit story? You actually saw that?
Yeah, we really did.
Bless your heart.
She came back from being beheaded and banished and, staked and who knows what.
That even kills vampires. I don't know if people are aware of that.
He wasn't great. I'm a vampire now. I'm not. Character, just saying.
I'm a vampire now. I'm not. Now I'm not. Now I'm not.
Like what I started, man. Sorry, boss.
She sang that song so.
And now I'm pregnant. I'm a vampire now. I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yep. She's not wrong.
No, she's not wrong. But yeah, so.
Sorry.
But yeah, like I said, having your head cut off to magic back on, it's a scooch. We'll say scooch is a metric term. It's a scooch. It's, those in England know what I'm talking about. Too much. Just a scooch. But, like if your organs are spilled out, spieled out. Spielberg, Al Spielbergian. If your organs are spilled out, being healed by the morning and doing push-ups out in the courtyard, how about no?
No, I'm not gonna happen.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. There should be a healing process for you for the character, and I've seen that one for major. It's like that's you were like stuffing your stuff back inside, like you were in like Forrest Gump, and you were Bubba. It wasn't going too well for poor Bubba. He died in the nom. It wasn't good, and he liked shrimp. No, I want shrimp. So likewise, in the opposite direction of the I just had my head healed and sewn back on and my organs pushed up my rectum again, there's the reverse of that, which is the I got a paper cut by filing parchment, and I got gangrene overnight and may lose my arm now because the healer messed up.
And that, oh God, that's another one that just... I've had people be like, I healed them, and the next day they're back in going, you missed a spot. No, she didn't. You little shit.
You missed a spot. It's like for those that haven't seen the classic story of Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Where does it hurt? Oh, I don't know. Right around the giant bloody spot. We can see that when you're shirtless. See, there's no missing a spot, Now, maybe you could do I had internal bleeding overnight and I'm not feeling so good and there's, there's a blood pool, in my chest. You could do that, maybe. But you might want to ask your healer if they're, because you're basically saying you're incompetent. And a lot of people don't like having their characters called incompetent without maybe asking permission of how good they are. Like Jess, if they had said, hey, is it okay if, internally there was a nick that just that was outside of the range, and they're like,
yeah, I mean,
overnight,
I've had that happen, or
overnight I bleed internally.
We left something inside when we healed, and we didn't realize,
that never happens in real life.
Yeah, because that never happens in real life. So it made sense that the dagger had shattered when it went inside, and we were rooting around in there trying to get all the pieces out. And we missed a couple. It made sense. I was totally okay with that.
Like shrapnel. Especially with shrapnel. I mean,
right.
My friend had an accident when we were teenagers. He got T-boned by another car. And his head, thankfully, was cushioned by busting through the glass of the side of the window. For the next 15 years, he would get pimples on his head, and he would pop them, and a little sliver of glass would come out.
Fun.
Yeah,
yep.
Because it's impossible to get, shards of stuff like that. It's impossible.
No, you can't get it all. You just can't. And so that sort of thing, sure, I'm totally okay with that. But when they're like...
But when it's just like, you're incompetent and you missed a spot. You missed the gaping hole in my spleen.
Yeah, no, she didn't. Shut up.
How about no?
Yeah.
Another one I've actually have, and I'm going to name drop on this one. It was Maris in Servants of the Temple. She had told, it was in a chat, so it's not like a secret, but she had said one of the reasons that she was getting frustrated with healing at times was not because of her god-modding her abilities. She was actually one of the healers that I liked the way she healed. She would do it like a doctor. She would do what she could, and she would let the body do the rest. But there were times when she was getting frustrated is because people were god-modding her powers for her.
Oh, God,
so it wasn't just it's not healers that do the god-modding. It's the people being healed that will god-mod on their behalf. So, she would do her thing, and she'd be like, okay, well, you're going to be out of commission for a week, and then they would be out on the courtyard next day doing push-ups and stuff. I was healed by her. She's completely healed that. It's like, it should be like, my character doesn't have that kind of power. I don't play my character that way. I would rather you didn't do that, because that's not, I can't do that. That's not, it doesn't, she was trying to do the right thing. And, and that's just, that has to be just as frustrating for a healer. That's, as it is for us with a healer that's like, you're healed. I have laid my hands upon you. And now, through the power of tuna, You have been healed.
Yep.
I was missing my torso, and now it is there. You know, I was just from the waist up. I was gone. You're healed. No.
Yeah.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, and we would have people do that. They're just like, they'd walk in, they'd use their in-game heal, and then walk out.
The blinding light. Oh.
Yeah.
Is there heal privilege?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, check your healer privilege at the door.
I mean, those wounds have consequences. Even Ren, when he first spidered out, like when they got him back to normal, he didn't have any legs because they had split apart and turned into that mountain mess. He had to stay in the dungeon because they didn't trust him to not spider back out. And Vodka just kept sending medics down there. I was down there a freaking month while they freaking stitched him back together.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Yeah, but so for a healer, I totally understood why she was like, I kind of don't like really doing the healing all that much because some people keep god modding my stuff. Yep. I get that. Totally get that.
I think that's where the problem lies, is the healer and the healed need to have an immense amount of trust in each other as far as roleplay goes. Because you are essentially god modding each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I think we had, in Silver Circle, we eventually just rolled for everything. We rolled for heals. And healers that had been healing for a long time got a plus, to their rolls. But nevertheless, you had to roll, and then you decided if it worked or not. You'd have to say, okay, that worked, or that didn't work. On the spot, not 2 days later.
Yeah.
That kind of cut back on that stuff.
Yeah. It's just all things moderation, right?
Yep.
That's right.
It should be healed. I think we're gonna have to use that more often. Healed at the speed of plot. It just something a little
speed
more
of plot.
Fun, something fun, a little more realistic, something to let people play out the injury. Maybe they miss a few training exercises and things like that. It's all right.
And talk to each other.
Yeah,
communication is huge.
Yeah, definitely, especially
I'm just gonna wing it.
Just assume it all went well. All right. So, lastly, here with the divinity thing, is faith magic. A lot of the modern, like Dresden Files. I know I bring these up, and if you haven't read, if you read or you do audiobooks, they're books well worth doing. But the Iron Druid Chronicles is another one. In Iron Druid, it was actually interesting because faith itself. It was a pretty brave book in that he actually talks to Jesus and Mary and all sorts of different gods because they all exist, but they exist because the faith itself is its own magic. So it basically created the beings themselves, just the faith on its own. It was kind of an interesting way of doing it, but you kind of should always look at faith as its own magical energy. It's its own force. It often requires you to believe in something, bigger than yourself, often a divine creator, but it's not, only that. Because a lot of times it's not monotheistic. It's, I don't know what the other version of it is. I'm totally blanking on it now, but the multi-theistic, that's the term I'm going to use. Because multi means many. From the Latin multi, which means to molt.
Multipass.
Multipass. So
didn't Dresden himself carry, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've read the books, didn't he carry, was it like a keychain just full of different holy symbols from different faiths around the world? And when he came across monster or a vampire or something, he would start going through them.
No, he had his I think you're thinking of Benny from The Mummy. He had that.
Oh yeah, he did have that.
But no, Dresden had his pentagram amulet, but that was his symbol of faith because he had faith in magic. And it basically acted the same because, the faith magic was harmful to the vampires. So just using that it had the same effect as you would typically think of as a cross. it wasn't the evil pentagram. It was just like the pentagram with the 5-sided star inside a circle, which was the 5 elements of things that I had said, like bound in a circle, which the circle was like human will. So that's how. I don't remember. He may have had charms, but I don't think it was like that.
Okay, I may be misremembering.
Yeah, I think. I know Benny had that, and like I said, in the Mummy, he kept going when the mummy was about to eat him. He kept pulling out one necklace after another until he got to the Jewish star, and then that's when the mummy finally stopped.
Oh, yeah.
The language of slaves.
Yeah, I know completely. Could you believe I remembered that off the top of my head?
I haven't seen that movie in...
I haven't either. It's been probably 20 years, and when Brandon Fraser was cool. It's been a while. I have the dumbest ass memory for stupid shit. By the way, I don't know if anyone's realized that. So, proof of that I remember the mummy,
me, man.
And I even remember his name was Benny. Pull that one out of your ass.
He ate nasty, all those flesh-eating scares.
Yeah, he did. He kind of got what was coming to him. I love that actor, by the way. Completely off the rails, but he's actually a pretty good little actor. Doesn't do a lot, but he's good. So, faith. So, requires you to believe in stuff, blah, blah, blah. But faith is just kind of having complete confidence and trust in someone or something. That's the actual definition of faith. Love you, kiddo. Her daughter's moving out tonight, so... Yeah, that's right. We're doing this instead of helping our kid move. Mostly because she's already moved. She's just going to leave, but it's not like we're never going to see her again.
Okay.
Ouch. So, yeah. So, faith is complete confidence and trust in someone or something. That's the basic definition of faith. That could be faith in yourself, faith in others, faith in humanity. Just having faith in something is often what gets people through their days and their lives, both in RP and outside of it. Faith that things will get better, that we can do better for our children and our loved ones, that we try to leave things around us better than we found them. And sure, we'll fail at times, we'll trip, we'll stumble, even fall, but with faith, we can, get up, dust off our knees, wipe the blood out of our nose, and we can push on. Now, if it sounds like this doesn't always have a lot to do with RP, you're kind of half right. In RP and online and on this show, being cynical is actually fairly easy. We get wrapped up in a lot of the BS of the moment, in who backstabbed who or who talked shit about who in the game, or whatever is going on in the real world with politics and religion and just the stuff that comes about. It gets really easy to lose faith in the people around us, and faith in keeping it kind of takes practice. It's hard work and the desire to see the best in what is around us. It doesn't come easily, so someone like me especially. So it's easy to focus on what we don't have, what someone else has, what we lost, what we see all our friends that seem to have these amazing lives on Facebook and Instagram, because we only see the best. Nobody shows the stuff where they're, they struggle too, and they're fighting with their wives, or their, kid didn't make the football team, and we only see the best in that stuff, and it's not reality. So we, tend to forget to take a breath and look at what we do have. Our family, our friends, a roof over your head, food, your dog, your cat, that spider on the back porch you named Fred the Spider a few years ago, just as for instance. Not
Fred's a good guy, man.
He was a good guy. We lost him. We lost Fred, though. I think he got eaten by a bird. But we're focused on the positive. So, whatever it is, there's always something to be thankful for, to be proud of. Don't be afraid to let yourself appreciate what you actually do have, or if you've struggled and how far you've come since then. Faith in yourself, in your creativity or your work ethic, your ability to speak out. For some people like Jazz, your typing speed. Whatever it is, it's okay to believe in yourself, because when you can do that, when you can know yourself and believe in yourself, know what you're capable of, have a dream, do those kinds of things that, maybe you were told you can't do or you shouldn't do because there's no way it'll ever work. You can, when you get to know yourself and know what you can do, you can start, that's when you can actually truly start to know others, is when you know yourself. You can't really know somebody else if you don't know who you are, because if who you are is shifting, you may not end up liking that person later on because you aren't who you thought you were, and then that turns out that they aren't who you want to be with.
This Hallmark moment brought to you by Crapco.
That's right.
Crapco.
But
it also works, what you were saying also works in your characters too.
Yeah.
When you're RPing, you might make a character that you want to like and you want to play, but after some time you realize, no, I really don't like them. I'm going to have to go on to the next one.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Exactly. And it works in role play, and all this, a lot of the and yes, I'm getting a little sappy here, but it's our last episode. This is before Christmas, Try to leave you on an upbeat note here. But, when you can know yourself, when you can do that and you can really get to know others, you can actually help spread that belief and faith, kind of to the world around you. And like a stone in a pond, those ripples, and while you might not see them, more often than not, you definitely won't see them. They do spread, and they can change a life in ways that you'll never know. And perhaps you shouldn't, but you'll just have to take it on faith that maybe holding that door open for that woman that was having a really bad day, struggling getting the stroller through, or maybe helping somebody figure out how to put their card in the fucking chip reader. The little old lady that doesn't quite get it. That things like that, it can turn someone's day around, and their turned around day can spread to their family, their friends, their jobs, their coworkers, and those things have a ripple effect just as much as, somebody cutting you off in line, or flipping you off because you gassed it, or like the poor bastard that happened this morning to me, where I got through the yellow light just fine, and the guy behind me ran the red light. Woo!
Oh no!
Off in the distance, I saw him in my rearview mirror. It was like, whoo, that was close. Good thing he was there. My day was great.
I've actually had that happen too.
His day started out a little rough, but it's just keep the faith. I whatever it is you believe in, it, God and Jesus, Buddha, the earth, nature, whatever, nothing. I mean, but you still, even people that are agnostic or atheists, you still need to believe in something. Whether it's the power of, the human mind and spirit, it's still a belief. So just, keep that in mind for these holidays. Whatever it is you celebrate, Merry Christmas, have a happy Ramahanaquanzmas, all that stuff. Just keep those things in mind. So, all right, I'm going to step off my soapbox now.
This Hallmark moment brought to you by Crapco number 2, because we sell crappy products and cards.
So did you say Crapco's number 2?
That's our second ad of the day.
But yeah, so that kind of concludes the faith magic thing too. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory on the good side. Funny enough, a lot of people don't really role play being a good person, because really when it comes down to it, there's no good and bad in, there's no good and bad only in anybody. We're always kind of a combination of the two. Any good character, any good villains, any good superheroes, they always have to have a little bit of that. Even the best people that we revere, I think we've said it before, like Martin Luther King or Gandhi, they have a lot of also issues that come along with that. It's human nature. It's okay. If you struggle with your anger, I trust me, I'm a very angry person. I very much struggle with that, like shaking hands, want to punch something through the side of the door, angry. at times, depending on how stupid someone is. So I get that. It's a personal flaw. I got to work on that. So, all right. Well, with that, does anybody have any final thoughts on good faith magic or neutral magic before we bounce out of here for the rest of the year?
I think that it's just a good idea to know what you're getting into and think about it a little bit. Plan it out what you want your magic to be, where you want it to come from, how you want it to work, because that'll help you down the line RP it out the way that you want to.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to let it influence your actual character's character either. Doesn't have to just be a tool. It can, be a part of them. What are you saying, Sib?
No, I agree with Jazz completely.
Well, that was boring. What did I even call on you? Jeez.
I thought you called on me.
I don't know either. That makes two of us. Whoa, girl. Down. You're all right, girl. You're all right.
You guys can tell how checked out we all are, man. It's the end of the year.
Yeah,
I'm tired.
It's been a long days. Well, all right. So, guys, appreciate everybody following us this year. Well, probably next year we're going to have some new intros, probably a new show format a little bit, rearrange things somewhat. Try to do a little bit more on the entertainment side and not so much of this long-winded technical garble stuff. We kind of whatever it is you guys might seem to be interested in and find entertaining. If there's any ideas, we actually already had one from somebody for an episode next year that I thought was really good. So we'll probably do that almost right off the bat. But, if there's things you want to hear us talk about, if there's ideas you have, if you want to share your characters, we're going to have all sorts of fun stuff for next year. So look forward to that. Tune in. Probably won't be back until, the 5th of January, because we're going to take the next 2 weekends off because Christmas and family, like we said. It's very important. So we're going to spend time with ours. You should spend some time with yours, I will say, if you're don't bounce out of something with your family to stay online and roleplay. The roleplay will be there later. Take it from us, your family may not be, and it's gonna.
It's true.
That's true.
You never know. It's not worth missing out on something, just because you got something planned. So remember that. Treasure it while you have it, because regardless of what you think, it won't last forever. We're all aware of that because we're old. If you're young, doesn't feel that way, but one day it's going to come for you. And if not for you, someone you love.
Oh my
God. Like all
down.
Love. So, all right. On that happy note.
Merry Christmas! Happy New Year!
Man, it's been a sappy episode.
Yeah,
Happy holidays! Be a good pagan. Have a good day. Be careful.
What Jazz said? Pagan. Filthy pagan.
That's right. So, all right. Well, on behalf,
I will miss everybody.
I will miss everybody too.
Okay.
Nah, I'm not gonna talk to any. I'm looking forward to 3 weeks of not talking to any of you fuckers. So. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Remember, go ahead and follow us. Oh, and by the way, quick count. I think we actually made over 100 people following us over at Twitch. So, yay us, and yay our listeners and viewers that made it possible, because each one of you has to have done that because you have very poor taste in podcasts. We appreciate all of that. So, on behalf of the crew here at RPMMORadio, we wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Have a happy Ramahanaquanzmas, whatever it is you do. I am Ashen Phoenix. On behalf of my crew, Jazz, Sib, Strafei, Yunfei, Kishmas, and of course, Rahanar. Be safe out there. We'll see you next year. And remember, tune in next year for Halflings boiled in oil and over a Yule log. Next year on RPMMORadio. Good night, everybody. The thoughts and opinions of those on RPMMORadio are just that and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great video game rock covers and original music.